Hello and welcome back to Backwoods Bourbon. Hope you had a good 4th of July. It's Monday. We're back to work. Everything's back to normal. So I figured if I had a little time this evening, we'd go ahead and knock out this Wheated Bourbon battle. Everything in the lineup is between $25 and $35. Everything is between 90 and 93 proof. 95 proof, I'm sorry, on the Penelope, it's 95. I have not actually tried Green River before. Saw a lot of stuff on it, so I figured I'd go ahead and pick it up. And then when I got home, I was like, well, I've got four, really similar proofs with wheated mash bills. And I figured we'd kind of rip into these things and see where they stand. I think this one's the Weller Special Reserve was $27 MSRP. Picked that up on this last drop a couple Tuesdays ago. $35 for the Penelope Wheated. $36 for the Green River, and $25 for the Larceny. It had a $5 rebate also, so actually $19. But we're not really going to judge off value, but we're going to judge off of just pure which one we like better. Things I'm going to be looking at is kind of the aroma, the front, the mid, and the finish. I'm not going to get too technical, just want to kind of figure out what we like. My lovely assistant set up the blind here. I'm not sure which one is which, but let's dive into this and see where we are. Not very viscous. Smells kind of young. Really good though. There's some legs. Not super great mouthfeel, but I figure for $24 to $35, it's probably not going to be something you're going to have, but it is pretty good. Definitely tell they're that it's a wheater. Move on to B here. A little thicker, it looks like. Not nearly as much aroma. A little weaker to the nose. Not a lot of flavor up front. It's kind of a lot less taste up front. Mid, it starts coming in pretty good with some bacon spice. And it's got a little longer finish, which is kind of weird. It's like a really slow moving arch. It kind of gets there and then it stays. The first one, flavor, a lot more flavor at first, and then it just kind of carries out, and not a super long finish. But I think where it's a little thinner in the mouth, I think that's why the finish may be a little quicker. Try to cleanse my palate a little between the drinks. Both of those so far, it's had just a touch of that wheated funk, but not bad. Both of them very drinkable. Definitely a little more on the nose with this one than the previous one. That one has better mouthfeel than the other two, but for me, the a little more funkiness. Not as sweet as I would expect a wheated bourbon to be. It's a little grain forward, a little young. Not much of a Kentucky hug during the middle, and kind of a funky finish. Not crazy about that one. Good nose. This one's a lot like that one. The flavors on the front come in really soft and slow. Kind of builds to the mid and then carries that through the finish, and it's got a really decent semi-long finish for a low proof. And I'll be honest, some of my favorites are between 107 and up, but for the most part, 107 to 120 is kind of where I really like mine to be. And these are all a little weak for my palate, but I'm going to kind of bounce through these things again. But I think I'm going to go ahead and call that my least favorite, but I'm going to try again. Well, that's nice. This one is nice. That's a really good one. These are my first drinks of the day, so it takes a second to get the palate warmed up too. That first round may not be as accurate as this one. I'll go ahead and jump back to this one. It's even got the funk on the smell a little bit, like totally different. Totally different than the others. very soft. You know, honestly, if you're looking for a very sippable, easy drink, this is it. It does have just a little bit of that wheated funk, but I think what I'm not enjoying about is how light and I don't want to say bland. It's just a lot less swing in the front. It's very tame. It's a slow build, and to be honest, this drink was way better than the first. I can drink that, and you know, you really can't have super high expectations. I know one of these bottles say Weller, but you know, it's still a $28, $29 retail bottle. This is not Antique 107. It's not foolproof. It's not CYPB. It's their $20 some product, which on the secondary market here, that stuff's about 60, but we actually got this on the drop and actually found it at retail, so I picked it up. Actually, I picked up a backup. I already had this one, but so we'll move to D again. And this is my first blind on camera, so bear with me. This one's nose is a little better this time around. They're all sweet. They've all got a very similar nose. Tough draw between those last two. I don't know what order she's got these, but honestly, they're really close into the order they're going to finish. That's my favorite. Through the full drink, that one's good. The other three, they just don't really carry enough flavor through to suit my palate really good. All right, for better, for worse, I think it's my order right there. All right. I'm going to go with least favorite first. Which one was C?
Green River.
Green River. It didn't hardly stack up in my blind as good as some of the others I've saw. But I did just open this bottle tonight. The neck pour, you can't really judge on it. I think what I'll do is I'll give this a couple weeks and I will put it head to head again, whatever wins, to see if after it's had a couple weeks of air, if it'll improve. All right, what is D?
Weller.
William LaRue, solid third place effort. What is B? Larceny. You know, I honestly thought that the Larceny would be my last place. I really can't believe that Larceny has actually beat Weller head to head. Meet Birdie, the bar cat. So I guess Penelope is the winner.
Penelope.
Well, so yes, I can fully see that. So Penelope, definitely It's got a much better aroma. The some good flavors coming out there. Sweet. As soon as it enters your mouth, the flavors there. The only complaint I could have about it is it's a little thinnish. It doesn't really coat the mouth as good as you'd want. But granted, it's a 95 proof. It's the highest proof of the one, so it may have hit my palate a little better. But the mouth feels not spectacular, but boy, everything else is good. Number 2, the old trusty $24 bottle of Larceny. And then it was Weller next, followed by Green River being the least favorite. I would not really have thought that. I really had high hopes on the Green River. I'd watched a lot of things on it, and everybody was comparing it. Well, I guess they was kind of comparing it to Weller on the Special Reserve, which, they're very similar. And, sadly, so similar that they ranked in the same spot pretty much. It was really a toss-up which one of these was going to be better. I did not see this one being in second. I've drank out of this bottle a few times, and to be honest, I wasn't crazy about it. But I guess after you open these things up and let them have a little air for a while, that tends to get a little better. But so that's actually the order. I'm kind of blown away, really. I did not look for Weller to be in the bottom half of the field. And I honestly didn't look for Larceny to be in the top end of the field. I knew Penelope would be a contender. It's really one of my better drinks, as far as budget wheated stuff. But I really appreciate you tuning in and watching the shenanigans, the tomfoolery per se. But I think the next little bit we'll do like a bottled and bond battle. I've got 4 bottles of that I'd really like to put, and we'll move it. This is everything we focused on in the first 2 videos have been some really budget bottles to get the beginner bourboneer, we'll call it, into the game at a pretty affordable price. And then this was like a really budget showdown. And wheated is going to be more for the palate of the beginner drinker and seasoned. Now, I'm not saying that'll ever change, but typically when you first start drinking bourbon, it's kind of harsh, and you shouldn't necessarily go buy these bottles that are 128 proof and just start out 80 to 100, and get the feel of it in your mouth, and then kind of ease up as you feel like you're ready. There's no right or wrong. Just because a bottle costs more than the other don't mean it's better. It may be somebody else's favorite, but it don't mean it may ever be your favorite. We've got some friends that have drank bourbon for 20 years and have more bourbon than I could even haul in my truck. And they still prefer the 90 to 95 proof stuff better than the 120s. Me personally, I'm good with having a drink or 2 in the 90s, and then I want to move up to the 100 to 110, and then I really enjoy, once that palate gets feeling right of the night, to break out the Bookers or the Stag Juniors or the Makers that's pretty high proof, and go ahead and get in that 115 to 120 range, and then from the 120s to 130s. And those nights that you really are looking for intense, you can start pulling the Jack Daniel's single barrel rise out that's going to hit up into the 130s, and that'll tickle your fancy. But the first video, we end up with 19 subscribers, and I appreciate every single one of you. We end up with 80 something views, and for a channel that was brand new that had never uploaded a video, I'm pretty satisfied with that. And I hope all 81 of you enjoyed watching it. I hope that you continue to subscribe and like and comment. And, if you have any ideas on blinds you want to see, just let me know. And again, we're not very scientific. I'm not going to try to call out 27 flavors in the aroma. I don't want to be scientific. I do this for fun. I don't want to put my nose in a strain, but the from the nose all the way through the finish, Penelope is a far cry better than the rest, and justifiably, it is the most expensive in the lineup by about $2 or $3. So, but this one is the closest to this one's price, and they finished at each end of the spectrum. So, don't count out your $22 and $24 stuff. Again, your $35 and $38 stuff. So, appreciate you tuning in, watching, like, subscribe, and we'll try to keep videos coming. Thank you very much.